One of the hardest lessons I've ever learned was this. Not everyone will understand you, and that's perfectly okay. For the longest time, we grow up trying to fit in, trying to please, to impress, to be liked. We shape our choices around the expectations of others, thinking that somehow their approval will bring us peace. But the truth is, when you live for their validation, you lose your own identity. You start shrinking yourself just to make others comfortable, and slowly, you forget who you really are. There comes a moment in life when you have to stop asking, "What will people think?" and start asking, "What do I think of myself?" Because the opinions of others are like waves, constantly changing, never consistent, never still. One day you'll be celebrated, the next day criticized, and if you attach your worth to that, you'll keep drowning in uncertainty. Confidence doesn't come from being liked, it comes from being authentic. It's not about being loud, it's about being sure. When you stop seeking approval, something magical happens. You start building confidence from within. You begin to trust your journey even when no one else does. You stop apologizing for who you are and start celebrating it. And you realize that confidence doesn't mean arrogance. It means peace. Peace with your flaws, peace with your story, peace with your pace. Because when you know who you are, no opinion can shake you. I want you to remember that people will always have something to say. No matter what you do, whether you win or fail, rise or fall, someone will always find a reason to judge you. But you're not here to meet their expectations. You're here to meet your purpose. The only approval you truly need is your own. You don't need to explain your dreams, your choices, or your timing. Those who see your heart will understand your silence, and those who don't, never will, no matter how much you explain. And yes, sometimes it's lonely when you start focusing on yourself. You might lose people, but you'll find peace. You might face doubt, but you'll build strength. Every time you choose yourself, you teach the world how to treat you. You show them that you are no longer someone who needs permission to grow, to evolve, to shine. That's when you step into your power. Because when you stop chasing validation, you start attracting respect. So if there's one thing you should remember, it's this. Your worth was never meant to be negotiated. You are enough, even when no one claps for you. You're enough, even when no one understands your path. Don't wait for the world to approve your light before you let it shine. Let them see what it means to rise quietly, confidently, and unapologetically. Because the moment you stop seeking approval and start believing in yourself, that's the moment the world begins to notice. There are moments in life when everything you planned, everything you dreamed of suddenly collapses. You look around and wonder, why me? You question your worth, your strength, and sometimes even your existence. But here's the truth. Pain is not meant to break you. It's meant to awaken you. It's life's way of shaking you, of saying, there's something greater inside you that you haven't discovered yet. Pain introduces you to a version of yourself you didn't know existed, the one who doesn't give up, who rebuilds, who rises stronger than ever before. We live in a world that glorifies perfection but hides the power of struggle. People show you their victories, but they rarely show you the storms they survived to reach them. And yet, it's the pain that gives those victories meaning. When you go through something that shatters your heart, you learn the real language of strength. You realize that courage doesn't mean never falling. It means standing again, even with trembling legs. You may not see it in the moment, but every wound is shaping you into someone extraordinary. Pain teaches you empathy. It teaches you patience. It reminds you that everyone is fighting silent battles you know nothing about. It humbles you, softens you, and at the same time makes you unbreakable. The very thing that once made you cry becomes the reason someone else finds hope through your story. You start to see that the scars you tried to hide are the proof that you survived, and survival itself is a victory. When life breaks you, don't rush to fix everything. Sometimes the breaking is the blessing. It breaks the version of you that was too scared, too dependent, too unsure, and rebuilds a version that knows its worth, its strength, and its power. We often think pain is a punishment, but sometimes it's a preparation. It's preparing you for something greater, something deeper, something that couldn't have been born in comfort. And when you start turning that pain into power, you stop seeing yourself as a victim. You start seeing yourself as a warrior. You stop asking, why is this happening to me? And start saying, what is this trying to teach me? Every heartbreak, every loss, every failure is not the end. It's a new beginning in disguise. You are being refined, not ruined. You are being molded into someone who can handle what's coming next. So don't be ashamed of your pain. Wear it like armor. Let it remind you that you have faced darkness and still chosen to shine. Because pain may change you, but it never defines you. What defines you is the courage to rise, to heal, and to keep moving forward with faith in your heart and strength in your soul. And that is how you turn your pain into power. We live in a time where everything moves so fast that we start believing progress must be instant too. We scroll through social media and see people achieving great things, and suddenly our journey feels slow, our efforts seem small, and our dreams start to look distant. But the truth is, progress is not a race. It's not about how quickly you get there. It's about how far you've come. Every small step forward matters, even when no one notices. Every single effort, no matter how quiet, is a part of your growth story. Perfection has become such an illusion that we forget to celebrate progress. We wait for the big achievements to feel proud of ourselves while ignoring the small victories that actually build us. But real growth doesn't come from perfection. It comes from persistence. It comes from choosing to show up on the days you don't feel ready, from pushing yourself a little more when it would have been easier to quit. You don't have to do it all at once. You just have to keep moving, one small step at a time. Comparison is one of the biggest thieves of joy. You look at someone else's success and start doubting your own potential, forgetting that every journey has its own pace. You might be in your building phase while someone else is in their blooming phase. Don't let their highlight reel make you question your process. Flowers bloom at different times, yet each adds beauty to the same garden. Your journey is unfolding exactly when it's meant to. Progress is about consistency, not perfection. You can fall 100 times and it still counts as progress if you stand up 101. Growth is not linear. Some days you'll fly, other days you'll crawl, and that's okay. The days you feel like you're moving the slowest are often the days you're growing the most. Because even when you can't see it, every effort, every lesson, every failure is preparing you for something greater. Sometimes the smallest habits bring the biggest transformation. Reading 1 page a day, taking a 5-minute walk, choosing kindness over anger, choosing gratitude over complaint. These little choices build a life that feels different over time. It's not about doing everything perfectly. It's about doing something consistently. That's how confidence grows. That's how dreams turn into reality. Not overnight, but over time. So don't be too hard on yourself. You are allowed to be a work in progress. You are allowed to move at your own pace. Don't let the pressure of perfection stop you from appreciating how far you've come. Keep going even when it feels slow, even when no one claps for you. Because progress may be quiet, but it's powerful. And one day you'll look back and realize that every small, imperfect step was leading you exactly where you were meant to be. When you start focusing on yourself, something interesting happens. The noise around you gets louder. People begin to question your silence, your distance, your choices. They say, "You've changed," as if staying the same was ever the goal. But what they don't realize is that silence isn't weakness, it's strength. It's the quiet confidence of someone who has finally learned to protect their peace. You don't owe anyone explanations for the way you choose to heal, grow, or rebuild your life. In a world that constantly tells you to be visible, to prove your worth, choosing silence is a form of rebellion. Because when you're silent, you start hearing the one voice that truly matters, your own. The truth is, not every noise deserves your attention, not every argument deserves your energy, and not every opinion deserves a response. You can't move forward if you're busy reacting to everything around you. Growth requires focus, and focus requires peace. There was a time when being misunderstood felt unbearable. You wanted to defend yourself, to make people see your heart, to explain your intentions. But then you learned that sometimes no explanation will ever be enough for those determined not to understand you. You realize that silence speaks volumes because while they talk, you build. While they doubt, you evolve. And while they watch you rise, your silence becomes your greatest response. People will always have something to say. They'll call you distant when you protect your boundaries, selfish when you prioritize yourself, arrogant when you stop begging for approval. But you can't let that noise drown your truth. The more you focus on their words, the further you drift from your purpose. Peace doesn't come from trying to be understood by everyone. It comes from being at peace with yourself, even when no one understands you. Detaching from the noise doesn't mean you stop caring. It means you start caring about the right things. You stop pouring your energy into proving your worth and start investing it into becoming your best self. You begin to value silence not as emptiness, but as clarity, a space where you can breathe, think, and reconnect with who you are. And slowly you notice that life feels lighter when you no longer carry the weight of unnecessary opinions. The truth is, the more you grow, the more your circle changes. Not everyone can go where you're headed, and that's okay. You don't need to explain your distance, your boundaries, or your silence. The ones meant to walk with you will understand without words. Protect your peace fiercely. It's your foundation, your power, your calm in the middle of chaos. Because when you learn to detach from the noise, you stop being distracted by what doesn't matter and start hearing the voice that says, keep going, you're becoming who you were meant to be. There comes a time when you realize you don't need to announce everything you're doing. You don't need to post every move, explain every plan, or seek validation for every decision. Because real growth happens quietly. The strongest roots grow underground, unseen, but deeply grounded. When you stop trying to prove your progress and simply start working on it, something powerful happens. Your actions begin to speak for you, and they speak far louder than words ever could. People love to talk. They'll question your silence, doubt your decisions, and sometimes even laugh at your process. But remember, the loudest people are rarely the ones doing the most. The ones who are truly building something meaningful are usually too focused to make noise. They don't waste energy on proving their worth. They spend it on improving their craft. The real glow-up isn't the one people see. It's the one that happens inside when you choose discipline over distraction. You don't need to tell the world what you're planning. Let your consistency reveal it. Let your results announce it. There's a different kind of confidence that comes from working in silence, from knowing that you're building something strong enough to speak for itself. You stop caring about opinions because you're too busy creating outcomes. And one day when you finally show the world what you've been working on, it won't just be impressive, it will be undeniable. People often underestimate quiet ones. They assume silence means weakness or lack of ambition. But silence is power when it comes from focus. When you channel your energy inward instead of scattering it outward, you move differently. You start aligning with purpose instead of noise. You realize that success doesn't need attention. It needs effort, consistency, and faith. Those who spend time talking about their dreams rarely reach them, but those who spend time working on them eventually shock everyone. Sometimes, the most powerful statement you can make is made through your transformation. You don't need to tell anyone you've changed. They'll see it in your attitude, in your energy, in your peace. You don't need to announce your comeback. It will echo through your results. That's the beauty of silence. It builds strength, it builds mystery, and it builds credibility. So keep moving in silence. Let your focus be louder than your words. Let your growth be your statement. Don't waste time defending your vision to those who can't see it. The world doesn't need your explanations. It needs your example. Because when you stop talking and start doing, when you stop explaining and start executing, your results become your voice. And that voice, strong and steady, will speak a language everyone understands. Success? There's nothing more powerful than becoming everything they said you could never be. Every time someone doubted you, every time someone told you that you weren't enough, they were unknowingly giving you the fuel to rise higher. Life has a way of using the very moments that were meant to break you as the foundation of your strength. The people who counted you out, the ones who looked at you and said you can't, will one day have no choice but to watch you become the living proof that you could. But here's the truth. Becoming that version of yourself doesn't happen overnight. It takes patience, resilience, and a quiet belief that even when no one else sees your potential, you do. It's waking up every day and choosing not to be defined by your past, your pain, or your mistakes. It's choosing growth over bitterness, peace over revenge, and progress over perfection. Because when you focus on becoming better, you no longer need to prove anyone wrong. You simply start proving yourself right. People will always have opinions about who you should be, but you are not here to live according to their limits. You are here to rise beyond them. The same people who doubt your abilities today will eventually ask how you did it tomorrow. And that's not your cue to boast, it's your moment to be grateful. Grateful that you didn't listen, grateful that you kept going, grateful that you turned every no into a reason to believe harder in yourself. There's something beautiful about rising quietly, about working on yourself when no one is watching, healing when no one understands, and growing in spaces where no one claps for you. That's where real transformation happens, in the moments when it's just you, your faith, and your determination. Because when you come out of that season, you don't just surprise the world, you inspire it. You show others that even when life tries to define you by your circumstances, you always have the power to rewrite your story. Becoming the version they said you could never be isn't about revenge. It's about evolution. It's about finding strength in your scars and purpose in your pain. It's about understanding that what was meant to destroy you actually taught you how to rebuild yourself from the ground up. You become stronger not because life was easy, but because you decided not to give up when it was hard. And that choice to rise again is what separates those who dream from those who live their dreams. So to everyone who ever doubted you, let your success be your response. Let your peace be your proof. You don't have to shout to be seen. Your light will speak for itself. Because when you focus on becoming the best version of yourself, you don't just shock everyone. You remind them that miracles happen when you believe in yourself enough to never give up.